something they're not going to tell you on American media, and the American government definitely isn't going to tell you about it. By July 4th, the United States will be out of gasoline. The ships, the tankers in the Gulf of Mexico are taking the oil out of our strategic oil reserve. America cannot use its own oil. It has to sell the oil that is pumped out of our ground so that the American economy doesn't crash. If we used our own oil in America, our economy would crash almost immediately. So come July 4th, there will not be any gasoline. That's the projected time for the United States to run out. This is a real fact. This came from the Energy Secretary of Canada. He did an analysis on all of the gas levels around the globe. Europe is scheduled to run out by the end of this month. America is scheduled to run out July 4th. If you want to see the video, go to Prepper News with Canadian Prepper. Go to Canadian Prepper and look up Nathan. Nathan does a full in-depth analysis of it, and they have the interview on the channel on Canadian Prepper. So it's going to be a hard time for the United States running out of gas, and there won't be any school because there won't be any gas to run the buses come spring. This is a big deal. God loves you. I love you.
Okay, real talk. Real talk right now. I don't think people are aware of the insanity that we are heading towards by 2026, this summer. If this oil blockage continues for like another couple of weeks, deadly serious. This is the biggest oil shortage the West has ever seen in history. And what that could look like for all of us by this summer is there being national lockdowns as a way to ration oil, national blackouts as a way to ration oil, bans and restriction on any travel, so forget your summer holidays, gas and electricity doubling by this winter, and the cost of groceries going up by 20%. There is already a cost of living crisis in this country. This is a tipping point that most people aren't going to survive. How much more suffering are we prepared to go through in the name of Western imperialism and illegal wars? And I'm not fear-mongering. I actually feel hopeful. I'm hoping that this will be the thing that pushes people out to the streets and gets people fighting and demanding for better. It's time to rise up and create a systematical overhaul now.
First and foremost, before we get started, I'd like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rikah Quadash, and double honors to those great millstone while learnt his truth, and also to those elect that are scattered abroad. I like to say, Shalom. Come back here today with another great and powerful lesson through the spirit and the power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And the title of today's lesson is Calming Energy Crisis. Hope to sweep you today and guide you back in the path of righteousness and back to your true power, which you find is Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. So I don't have any news articles tonight, but we're gonna jump straight into it. So we're gonna start here first in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3 and verse 17. Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore hear the words at my mouth and give them warning from me. So one thing about it is that a watchman, what do a watchman do? He watch. He stands on his what? On his guard post, and see what's going on in the world through a biblical perspective, put it together through the scriptures, through the word, through the gospel. And one thing about it, through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Shema Shai. So we seen in the first two videos, that the guy was saying by July the 4th, maybe even be longer than that, You already know how they do, we don't use dates, but we know that it's going to happen because it's already been prophesied. So, Guy was saying that the oil is going to run out very soon. Gas prices are constantly surging, and we seeing also we knowing that once these things run out, we already know that it's going to be total chaos. Also, civil unrest, civil war, sedition, rioting. A lot of things is going to happen because people, when they go lacking, a lot of people are going to be just like what you call ticking time bombs. We see it right now. They're setting the stage, whether it's manufactured or by design. It's all through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashim Avashah. The Lord is constantly breaking this place down brick by brick, which in fact is America, Babylon the Great. We see in the fall of America, and also we know that America will reach 250 years, July the 4th, but we already know that, this place is finished. We will have healed Babylon, but she will not be healed. So the guy was saying in the first video that this will cause a economic collapse. That's exactly what they want, to reset everything. So we're seeing that they have everything in place. Everything is right on schedule, but he's in for a rude awakening. So we're seeing right now if the gas and the oil run out, we already know this. We already know that it's going to be a reset. They already have things into place. So we already seen what's going on in Cuba right now. The lights are out. No oil, no gas. People are protesting, rioting. That's a precursor of what is coming to America, but it's going to be 10 times worse. So we know that we're here. The stage is set. All things are ready. Once again, even though it will sound like a broken record, but these are the times that we're living in. So let's get an NLT. It says, Son of man, I have appointed you as a watchman for Israel. So whenever you receive a message from me, warn people immediately. That means we get on your asses, whether you were here or whether you will forbear. It really does not matter because it's happening right before your eyes. So we already knowing that if the oil go, if the gas go, you already knowing the food is getting ready to go. We already knowing about these ports. We already know what's going on in the Straits of Hormuz. It's pretty much talking about it pretty much every day. Tension is constantly rising. People are very, very angry. A lot of people right now have a lot of uncertainty. How's them gonna do this? How's them gonna do that? So a lot of people are gonna be in what you call beast mode. When these things come to pass, and also we know that the Lord is slowly setting the Egyptian against the Egyptian. So we already know that American against American. Race war. Rioting. What I'm saying? All sorts of lawlessness is getting ready to come upon this earth at a fast pace, and so we already know that July the 4th is not that far off, but about 2 months and some change. So we know that we're very close. I don't know, it's not that even. I think it's shorter than that, about a month and a half, if I'm not mistaken. But we're seeing that now that the Lord's constantly accelerating time, for the elect's sake. So these things are constantly picking up. And a lot of our people, we're constantly warning you, giving you that dark forecast. And also, this could be the possible dark winter that Biden was talking about several years ago. And one thing about it, it's going to be a time of trouble that we've never seen before. Food shortage, water shortage, energy shortage. A lot of things to get ready to happen. Rolling blackouts, cyber attacks. A lot of things is happening. Economic collapse. No money. No power grid. We already know once the money and the food go, all hell is going to break loose. You know what I'm saying? So what are you going to do when you can't put gas in your vehicle? So everything is going to stop. That's why they're going to come with these lockdowns, these mandates. See, we're seeing that we're here. The stage is set. It's happening right before our eyes. Even people that's not in the truth, they beginning to see the same thing. We're seeing now that, hey, we're at the point of no return, and also we're living in the last days. We're here. We're at the end. And one thing about it's only going to get down here from here. And guess what? We're very excited. DTA and Baba Ball, we're ready to get out of this nightmare because we knowing that this is not our rest. So let's read this once again in the NLT. It says, Son of man, I have appointed you as a watchman for Israel. Whenever you receive a message from me, warn people immediately. That's exactly what we're doing, whether you were here or whether you will forbear. Let's get one or two more. It's not meant to be a long lesson tonight, a little bit under the weather, but I'm going to try to do it the best of my ability. It says here, Second Ezra chapter 16 and verse 18 said, the beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? So we're at the beginning stages, of all these things happening, beginning of what? Of sorrows, the beginning of what? The birth pain. We're seeing it happening left and right. We're seeing what? These plagues are not slacking down for a moment. Already rumors of all sorts of what? Pestilence, disease, outbreaks, great mournings. A lot of people are going to be mourning. A lot of people are going to have what? Great sorrow. A lot of people are going to be taken, in a great number. The beginning of famine, economic collapse, food shortage, rationing of water, resources. The Lord is breaking what? The staff of the bread. Great death. So, when you don't have things to sustain your livelihood or your way of life, you're going to die. We constantly warn you left and right. When you don't have food, starvation will set in. Also we know that all sorts of lawlessness also will set in. Beginning of war. So we at the beginning stages of what? Of World War III. We're seeing right now things that's constantly heating up in the so-called Middle East or the Levant, Persian Gulf area, which in fact is Western Asia. Things are constantly picking up. Bible prophecy speaking loud and clear. Ezekiel chapter 38. Wars constantly lining up, and also we seeing Russia is slowly becoming a guard to these other nations. We seeing Bible prophecy speaking right now. It says the power shall stand in fear. It said the beginning of evil. So we at the beginning stages of evil, which in fact, it said Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation, the hour of testing, and also that grain of rice, the MOTB, which in fact is the RFD microchip. We know that these things are right here at hand. The reset is here, but the reset, what is coming, is the kingdom of heaven that dwells in righteousness. Verse 19 says, behold, famines and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. So we're seeing it right now. These things are constantly increasing, and they're sent for a scourge for amendment. It's time to get your house, examine yourself. Get your mind right, because we coming upon these times. They're here. They're constantly increasing. Verse 20 said, but for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourge. So a lot of people are not turning from their wickedness, their abominations, their so-called way of life. They constantly going happy-go-lucky. Everything is looking good. We're eating good. Everything, they saying that, but, I still have plenty. But guess what? That's going to happen all of a sudden. It's time to amend yourself, time to get yourself together. Also, it's time to seek the Lord. Verse 20 said, but for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Verse 21 said, behold, victuals shall be good and cheap upon the earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. So that's exactly what we're seeing. A lot of people thinking right now everything is good. They still have their job. They still have their family unit place. Still have vehicles. They still have, could put gas, still can afford things right now. But things, the grip is constantly getting tighter and tighter. That's how this devil wants you. He wants you very comfortable. But when he bring the house down, he's not going to bring the house down. It's the Lord that's going to bring the house down. So we're seeing right now a lot of people are sleeping. A lot of people are relaxing. A lot of people are not considering the signs of the times, and all the prophecies are speaking loud and clear. And once again, these evils are constantly growing. Which in fact is the sword, famine, and great confusion. And that sword goes into judgment. Famine goes into pestilence. Disease, outbreaks, economic collapse. Great confusion. Civil unrest, civil war, sedition, rioting, great death. Verse 22. So for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So we are very close to these times, a time of trouble that we have never seen before. So now let's go here to let's drop down. Let's get a little bit more of this. Let's go here. Let's get a little bit deeper here. Let's go down here to I could have read some more of them at the top, but we're going straight to the point tonight. Let's see here. Let's start here at verse 7. Let's get a little bit more about this civil unrest. It says here, 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 70, it said, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. So it's going to be in every place, you know what I'm saying, every city, you know what I'm saying, city against city, you know, brothers against brothers, neighbors against neighbors. So it's going to be everywhere, you know, it's going to be lawless, it's going to be globally, you know, so we already know that, you know, a lot of places are beginning to feel the effects. You know, just like Cuba is coming to America very soon. War is coming to our shores also. We already know about the sleeper cells, all these different things. And the one that fear the Lord is what they elect. But the Lord is going to use that what supernatural intervention is going to what deliver his elect. We very close to these times, man. We're here, man. The devil's getting ready to come down with great wrath. Verse 71 said, they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. So when that time insurrection come, when that time lawlessness come, you know, they will be like madmen. We already know about the sleeper cell. We know about these UN so-called peacekeeping troops, which in fact they're not going to bring peace, but you already know that they're going to tear America apart. So we already know it right now. We at that beginning stage. That's setting the stage for that. You know, so a lot of people right now are still accountable, but guess what? You're going to get caught off your guard. You're not aware, you know what I'm saying? That's why you should not be putting off from day to day, because any given time, you know what I'm saying, you blink of an eye, bam, we're here. So, you know, so we fear the Lord. We know that the Lord is going to deliver us. So that I start back up at verse. So they can be like madmen. You know, when people don't have anything, they're gonna be just like beasts, animals. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a very, very evil time. The Lord is not on your side. You will be totally destroyed. Verse 72 said, For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses because of what? People have a what? Lack of resource. You know, talking about the gas, the motor oil, you know, food, water, you know what I'm saying, the power grid, no internet, you know, clothing, you know, and the list go on and on. So it's gonna be, man, it's gonna be get down or lay down. Verse 73 it says here, then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire, which in fact is the elect. The Lord is going to make a way for us to escape. Also, the Lord is going to stand up for the children of Israel. The Lord is, you know, when you go to Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1, the archangel Michael, you know, is going to stand up because it's going to get such a time of trouble. You know, it's going to get so great that the Lord is going to have to intervene on our behalf. Man, I'm telling you, man, we are living in some very exciting time. The Lord is getting ready to return. So we, you know, and also in that time, you're going to know who the Lord is truly dealing with, and you're going to know who the Lord elect is. So, you know, there's a lot of things going to be revealed. Verse 74 says, Hear, O ye, my beloved, says the Lord, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. So one thing about it, so all we must do is constantly trust and believe in Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua. The Lord is going to deliver us with great glory and great power. Verse 75 said, Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, is your guide. So that's what we're going to constantly do, trust and believe in Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, and also the just shall live by faith and not by sight. So that's one thing about it. We're going to trust and believe in him because we fear the Lord. We love the Lord. The Lord will sustain us. The Lord is going to provide for us in those times of trouble. So now, let's go to our last and final script. Just a lesson, just rolling in the spirit once again. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 7. Let's go here straight to the point. Let's highlight this right quick. We're going to close out right here. It says here, but the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. So we at the end of an age, end of an eon. So we at the end of this wicked kingdom, which in fact is Esau. You know, Esau is the end of the world, which in fact the end of this age. And Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. So that's where we at right now. That's why we got to be watching unto prayer. You know, it said pray without ceasing, redeem the time. You know what I'm saying? Also, you know, put on the whole armor of Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, because we already knowing, we're getting a dark forecast right now, we already know that things are going downhill, and also we know that if we go into this so-called energy crisis, these lockdowns, we already know that these things are fast approaching. We already know that we're almost at the end of May. I think we got about another week, I believe. Then we'll be in June. So we're getting closer and closer. And also we were saying about December that they're going to automatic put, I think people's young men from ages from 18 to 24 automatically will be enrolled in the military. The draft is coming. The war is coming. All hell is getting ready to break loose. And also the implementation of the RFD microchip, which in fact is the mark of the beast. So the title of the day lesson, once again, is Coming Energy Crisis. So I'd like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rikah Kwadash. I like to say, Shalom, Shalom.